evening. This is India Prime. I'm Sana Khan. You're watching a very special broadcast on WION. This is perhaps the biggest sports news break of the year, and it strikes at the very root of India's supremacy in world cricket. At stake is over 2,000 crore rupees owed to India by the ICC. In the next half hour, we'll break down what is essentially a conspiracy to dethrone India from its leadership position in world cricket.
Yes, we have exclusive details of what transpired at the ICC meeting at the beginning of this month in Dubai. We have access to confidential minutes of that meeting as well. And as we go through those minutes, we realize that Indian cricket is being held to ransom. That's the big story here on WION. That's the story we are breaking right now. These are the numbers I am talking about. There are going to be drastic cuts in India's revenue stream in the ICC. Let's not tell you, when India had the allotted share, it was $589 million in the 2014 Big Three model. Right now, the ICC is saying, we'll give you something around $289 million. That is nearly half the money which was owed to India. There's going to be a likely loss of 2,000 crores. That 2,000 crores is money which is spent on the development of cricket. It's money which is also used to give money to cricketers. It's also used to enhance stadium infrastructure. What this does, also the ICC is now doing, it's undermining India's voting clout. Earlier, there were 10 members, 10 test-playing nations. Each of them had one vote in the ICC. The ICC is now trying to make it 15. They're trying to enhance the ICC board. What this will do, it will arrest the progress of Indian cricket, because Indian cricket will simply not have the numbers to take on the powers that had ganged up to cut India to size in world cricket.
Well, thanks Digvijay, for giving us an overview here on India Prime of this exclusive story that we're carrying tonight. To talk more about the repercussions of this move, I'm joined in by former cricketer Shishir Hantangdi and Gaurav Kalra, who is a senior editor, ESPN Crick Info. But before I come to you, gentlemen, let's just break down the story for our viewers here. And for that, it's over to you, Digvijay.
Yes, let me first reiterate, we are not pro-BCCI. We are not here to bat for the BCCI. We are here because the Indian cricket's net worth is being eroded. Let's take you through the numbers which we are breaking on the show. We have accessed the ICC's documents. Now, India at the moment contributes 80% of the revenues of world cricket. What is the contribution of the rest of the world cricket? You have it there. Just 20% is the contribution of the other countries, in some cases absolutely nil. What is going to happen now? We'll go to our next number. Now, India contributes 80%. England contributes 4.4%. This is the share, the ICC revenue model share. Cricket Australia 2.6%, South Africa 1.2%, and the Pakistan Cricket Board is going to get 1.2%. That was the allotted share which was worked out by the BCCI and the ICC in 2014. This is where the significant change happens, and we'll have that graphics on our video wall in just a moment. The ICC now wants to expand the base. The ICC is now saying there's going to be no contribution costs. There's going to be no contribution cost. That means the money India was bringing in into world cricket is irrelevant. Let's not forget, when the bidding cycle happened for the ICC global rights, it was something to the tune of $2.7 billion. India said that because we are bringing in the money to world cricket, we deserve 20.3%. Right now, that is gone. That is gone. That is gone. Right now, it is simply a 16%, but there's no contribution cost. 20% the world, 80% India. This was the existing model. This is the contribution in world cricket of India. Right now, what the ICC is saying is that very good. All the other countries have ganged up. Why? We know what's happening in the BCCI. There is internal turmoil, and everyone seems to be wanting to take advantage. They've all ganged up, including countries which were part of India when this Big Three model was put up. What is the loss for India? If I put it in terms of rupees, it's 2,000 crore rupees, Sana.
Absolutely. Those numbers, I think, speak for themselves. Let me come to you, Shishir, now. Now, when you played your cricket, it was the Imperial Cricket Conference. Jagmohan Dalmia, N. Srinivasan fought to give India a foothold and then domination of the ICC. As you can see from the story, that is under massive threat. What do you have to say?
Well, it's obvious, I mean, when we see the turn of events, it is very evident that, you have an elephant in the room. And sadly, as much as Mr. Shashank Manohar is a good administrator or was a part of the BCCI, his support for Indian cricket now in terms of at least the revenue model isn't there anymore. And, that he would have orchestrated along with a lot of members saying that, we have to look at it differently. I really believe that if you are bringing in the money, whether it is the Anurag Thakur regime or whether it is the governors or the administrators regime, it doesn't matter. It's about Indian cricket, it's about the BCCI. And for me, that is more important. Who's running the show isn't relevant. It is about who's bringing in the money. And it is evident, I mean, your figures tell you that 80% of the revenue comes in because of India. And I don't see any harm. I mean, it's just like, a salesman who brings in more revenue for his organization. He's entitled and he's justified in asking for a bigger profit share. So I don't see any reason why India should not show dissent about what is happening within the corridors of power of the ICC.
Right, Shishir. Now, Digvijay, the current proposed change quite evidently is made in such a way as to hit India's position and revenue. That's very crucial. We're talking about 2,000 crore rupee loss. That's no small change.
That's a significant amount of money. Just think of what you could do with that money. The argument of Indian cricket fans at the moment, and India actually voted against that proposal, but it got carried through. The argument of Indian cricket and administrators and everyone associated with Indian cricket is we are contributing that money. Not just that, Sana, when this agreement was signed, they brought in the money. The broadcasters who actually came and bid for these rights, they were all Indian or India-centric broadcasters. The problem here arises that when this initial bid happened, everyone thought that the rights was not going to go to beyond $1.5 billion. The BCCI said, host events in India and see the kind of money we bring in. So that money is distributed to all teams, yes, but what the BCCI also did in a sense is it went to England. It went to England, it went to Bangladesh and told, we'll also come and play you. When India goes to play cricket in another country, the money those countries earn goes to their pocket. So it was a win-win situation for everyone.
Absolutely. In fact, Gaurav Kalra, Senior Editor, ESPN Cricinfo, also is with us live at this point. Gaurav, thanks so much for joining us. The feedback that we're getting here is that at the ICC meet, everyone was taking a dig at India, at the domestic problems. Clearly, everyone is ganged up and fishing in troubled waters, isn't it? Gaurav, if you can hear me? All right. All right. In fact, we'll try and establish that audio link with Gaurav. But Shishir, let's just for a bit talk more about the money aspect because it's just so crucial. It's a lot of money.
It is, and this is something that the ICC has shown its fickleness. The members. It doesn't take time, and this is what we've seen: the members to sort of turn the tape. They must realize is that India is your cash cow, and if you don't respect that and appreciate that and gratify India, you could be heading in for some serious obstacles on the way. And I don't care who's running BCCI, whether it is X, Y, Z or administrators. The fact is it is hurting the Indian revenue model. And for me, that is more important because India is justified and very well justified in asking for their pound of flesh. I mean, they're bringing in 80%. So, I mean, what is wrong in asking for that extra 4% which has been cut off? I don't see any reason. And, I would have thought Mr. Shashank Manohar would have supported this cause. He may have his personal differences with the BCCI. He may have personal differences with the ex-chairman or the ex-president of the ICC. But the fact of the matter is he's Indian first. And that is where I feel a little let down by Indian administrators who should have voiced their opinion within those corridors saying, look, this is why they deserve the money. It just doesn't seem to happen, and that is hurting more than anything else.
Shishir, you're a cricket romantic. You've seen cricket over the years. You've played cricket at a time when India didn't have much of a standing, in a sense, in world cricket. There's another move which is going on at the moment, that is to end India's clout. At the moment, to push anything through in the ICC, you need a 2/3 majority. India had the support of the Asian bloc. Pakistan, in a sense, has moved away just because of other issues. But what we're now seeing is the addition of 5 extra votes in the ICC. If I look at it, and I look at it from an independent point of view, this is simply being done, in a sense, to ensure that India doesn't have that clout. If you have a 15-member ICC board and it comes down to an independent vote, India needs 6 votes to block any proposal which is detrimental to its interest.
Yeah, well, it's obvious and evident from the way it's being handled that, you know, you are creating avenues for resisting India. Which I find, you know, I don't find it a very prudent decision, because ultimately I think everybody sitting in those ivory towers knows that the revenue comes because of India. And, you know, India can obviously show some obstinacy in the way they operate now, and justifiably so. And I say this only because they have reason to feel slighted with the way things have turned around. You know, and the fickleness will tell you one thing, that the members who are against India can come back to India. But this is the way the ICC, you know, I mean, we talk about the bigger picture. This is the way they seem to be also operating. We talk about BCCI, but how is ICC any different? They're also, they have shown that they are in a position to turn tables, and it is very evident that they are fickle to come back when India calls the shots, or India finds a way out, you know, by just not going and playing in places that could give them extra revenue.
All right. In fact, I think we have Gaurav back online with us. Let's try and go back to him once again. Gaurav, thanks again. If you can hear me, if you look within the numbers, India was basically earning a lion's share of 80%, proportionate to really what it was bringing in into the board as revenue. Why should it let go of that chunk then?
Well, you know, I think there's a fundamental issue here about the position that India enjoys in the world game and the revenue it brings in. There is a saying that goes around in cricket circles that it's much better to work with India within the tent than to have them outside the tent and actually throwing stones into the tent. And so quite clearly, you know, it is not entirely in the interests of the world game to isolate India. Although I must say that it is mildly amusing to hear a lot of the BCCI officials at this moment, even though they are not speaking on this on the record, to complain about being isolated or in a sense being bullied at this ICC forum, because that really was in many ways an Indian speciality. I think that at the bottom of this lies the issue of resolving what is potentially a conflict that can basically divide the game, and that is not what something that that the world game wants. I think one of the things that has to happen is that at the ICC table there needs to be a greater understanding of India's position about the fact that they bring in these revenues, and I also think that there needs to be a level of compromise that everybody will have to start talking about now. It is also in one of the sort of more amusing aspects of this is that when the big three proposals came in about 3 years ago or so, at that time the ECB were in India's corner. In fact, Giles Clark was very much the head of the ECB was very much part of these negotiations, and now he sits on the other side of this, where the reforms are being done away with, the big three proposals are being done away with, and new reforms are being brought in.
Absolutely. Two very valid points you made there. Need for more understanding and perhaps a compromise as well as far as the ICC is concerned. Let's for a moment take this time to take a look at a reaction that Ravi Shastri gave, in former India captain and pundit, on this story. He said, and I quote him here, "In my mind, India deserve every penny that they get from ICC tournaments simply because they are the Pied Pipers of world cricket. something like 80% of revenues for these tournaments come from India. Then to say that India is the bully because they're asking for an extra share is, he calls it a biggest load of rubbish. I say this because the BCCI is not asking for 80%, they're asking for a much lower percentage. They have every right to do that. You take India out of the equation, I like to see what kind of revenue will be left. That is what Ravi Shastri is saying. Now, Digvijay, you've seen these numbers, the main broadcasters who've brought in the money are India. Looking at that, isn't then what Shastri is saying is right?
Of course, Sana, the money which we have been talking about is awesome. I mean, this is huge amount of money which we are talking about. And who's getting the money in? India is getting the money in. India went to these boards and said, you know, hang on, we will get the money in. We'll also go and we'll also tour you. So you also make money. So India, in a sense, getting in the money which is being distributed in that big three model to the other countries, and it's substantial amount, $80 to $90 million. In the case of ECB, it is something around $110 million. Then India also going, and since 2014, since the big three revenue model came in, India has actually gone and played in almost every other country. Now, there's another significant development which has come, and I want to bring that up on our video wall here. Now, India, we all know, massive population, but India has got just one vote in the ICC. That's a very significant vote. In a sense, you could call it earlier, India had a veto vote because of the money they brought in. But what's happening now? These new changes which are happening in the ICC constitution, in the ICC reform process, if you look at where India stands vis-a-vis the other countries, you know, they don't significantly pull in their numbers. But now, with the addition of 5 extra nominees, so the ICC chairman gets a vote, there's going to be an independent director, and there's also going to be 3 extra votes coming in from the associates. There is also talk now that Ireland and Afghanistan, 2 countries which are soon to get test match status, they could also get votes. So in a sense, you are building a clique in a sense against India, ensuring that from now on, India can never have the clout which they earlier had in world cricket, Sana.
All right, Shashi, let me come to you with that. Should then, India pull out of the Champions Trophy? Do you think that could be one possibility?
No, there will be observers and pundits who will suggest drastic measures as the one you have suggested. But I think more importantly is you voice your dissent, try and get to the table, as Gaurav said, to some kind of a compromise where both parties are seemingly satisfied with the decision taken. And it's important, I think, the ICC also recognizes the value of India, and the objective that India is fighting for. So I think it's important for both parties to sit across the table and have a dialogue that'll be prudent and pragmatic. When you suggest decisions, and drastic ones at that, of backing out, what is happening? The game will suffer. Indian cricket will suffer. Maybe revenues will go down, but India will be then completely isolated. And at the end of the day, the game is bigger than everything else.
Right.
Whether it's revenue, whether it's profit share, we cannot afford to use our power to make the game suffer, and that is something that I am worried about at this stage.
Yes, but Shishir and Gaurav, I want to bring up something which we managed to go through. We had access to confidential ICC documents, as I said when we started the show, and we found something. This is the 2014 Members Participation Agreement, which are going to come up on our screens now. This was signed between the BCCI and the ICC. Now, there's a clause here, clause 6.4 of that agreement, and I'm going to read it out. It says, and we're calling this the BCCI's fail-safe option, which they could use in this case. Here it says that the members may terminate this agreement as a whole if there is any material change that are materially adverse to any member, to the structure of the finance committee, and the important one is right at the end. We'll have that coming up on our screens. If the BCCI has a fail-safe option, if the percentage of contribution cost, this is the contribution cost which saw India getting 589 million, that's been abolished, it's now 0. If that is approved by the board, if that is changed, then India has a fail-safe mechanism. The question is, Gaurav, in this confrontation, do you think they can actually go ahead and do it? In a sense, for the Indian cricket fan, he wants to see cricket, but should he actually get shortchanged like this? With the money coming in, it's actually going to help spectators. It's going to help in better facilities. It's actually going to help other development of cricket in a sense. So should the BCCI take that step? That's what we are hearing at the moment.
All right. In fact,
this members' participation agreement also makes the point that yeah.
Gaurav, yeah, that question was meant for you. Please go ahead.
Can I complete my point? Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that this members' participation agreement also makes the point that the broadcasters have the right to walk out of the tournament in case India do not participate. I think all of these, Digvijay, we've been around this for a very long time. We know that all of these are kind of efforts at brinksmanship to try and put the message out there that this is extremely serious and we are taking this very seriously. I think what we have to also remember that this is not the old BCCI. There is no longer the same amount of power that vests in the hands of what, if you like, the old administrators of the BCCI. They are no longer as powerful. The game in the country is run by a committee of administrators at the moment. They are not from the traditional BCCI thought process and thinking. So if while there can be a lot of bravado put out there from the sort of BCCI sources that we keep referring to, there is in reality not that much power anymore with them. So whether this extreme step of pulling out of the Champions Trophy will be taken or not, I'm extremely doubtful that anything of that nature will happen. Please remember, even when we hear comments such as the one Ravi Shastri makes, that yes, it is true that the Indian market brings in 80% of the revenue into the world game, but the world game also needs the rest of the world to survive, and cricket is a small world. Digvijay, you cover the Olympics. This is not the Olympics. Cricket is a world of 8 or 9 countries, and if the BCCI thinks that it can, or Indian cricket thinks that it can survive simply because it exists in isolation to the rest of the world and not by playing against 5 or 6 other countries who presumably can be on the other side of this, that is not a healthy model. That is not a sustainable model. So yes, the world game needs the BCCI. There's no doubt about that, and their position on this, when they are weak for this kind of stealth attack to happen, is kind of poor politics. Sure, but we've seen that happen before. However, for the BCCI to make the claim that they can survive in isolation in a small sport such as cricket is slightly, I think, over the top.
All right. In fact, my next question is for both of you, Shishir and Gaurav. Let me come to you, Shishir, first. Now, significant money at stake, no doubt about that, because this probably even affects the IPL. Will the IPL be the ultimate bargaining tool?
I don't think so. It's a hand-in-glove situation, because the IPL as a model also, is the international players that add value to the IPL. Just imagine IPL being played between Indian players. It just won't make sense. It won't drive the money. It won't bring in revenues. It won't have the eyeballs and the footfalls that it is perceived to have. So to isolate any country or to isolate foreigners and to say that this is our tournament, we'll call the shots, we'll be diluting the value, the brand value of an event that is perceived to be sort of growing every year, and to spite anyone because of what is happening in the ICC would be, I think, very foolish on the part of BCCI at this stage. I think they need to sit across and sort out things, or come to an amiable decision, rather than try and say that we'll play alone. You at the end of the day, as a cricketer, I'll say you need opponents to play a game. You may be the crowd puller, but if you don't have opponents, you won't get anybody. You can't play between Karnataka and Mumbai, or Mumbai and Delhi. That doesn't make sense.
Sure.
You need international teams.
Gaurav, if I could bring you in here, there's this talk about the IPL, there's talk about the ICC changing its structure. You spoke about a stealth attack, but there's also talk about changing the structure to bring in a 2020 World T20 sometime in 2021-22, just before the IPL. That's perhaps also why Indian cricket is worried, and this is the talk which happened in the ICC meeting, and this is what we were told by our sources in the ICC as well, that this is the threat, and this is what the BCCI is going to go, and Indian cricket administrators are going to to go and tell the other boards, you want to be with us, you're going to get money if you're going to be with the ICC. Well, what's the money you're going to get? Earlier, the money every team got, every country got was $52.5 million over a period of 10 years. Because of the BCCI boosting the numbers, perhaps India's World Cup win helped. It went up to 2.7. But as you said, what happens if India is not around? Then will that not decrease? So that's a kind of a bargaining chip they could have.
Yes, but I think that the bottom line still remains, Digvijay, that that Indian cricket is in the middle of an extremely, an extremely well-known exercise of, well, cleansing, if you like, reform, if you like, definitely change. And that change will usher in a new kind of administrator, one would hope. There is already a different set of administrators at the helm of the BCCI. See, Digvijay, I think that the ICC's mandate at the moment is, as it has always been, will be to grow the world game, also to ensure that as an organization they control certain events that drive value and drive revenue. Now there are some concerns among the rest of the world that perhaps there are too many ICC events. There's a 50 over World T20, there's a World T20, there's a 50 over World Cup, there's a Champions Trophy, there's an ICC event every year, and that means that bilateral cricket gets a little bit squeezed. Now these are arguments that are to be had at the ICC table. And what is the ICC? The ICC at the end of the day is a formation made up of the cricket playing countries in the world, of which India is a very prominent member. I just think that this is, at the moment, we are seeing a bit of a shadow battle, but as always, as all things are, these things will get resolved. And first of all, the ICC, the members who've gone for this change have to ensure that they have enough backing for the proposals to go through in the April meeting. That will be the first battle they have to win.
Absolutely. Nice to hear you, Gaurav, being optimistic over there. But let's just for a moment, before we conclude the show and take in closing comments, take a look at what Pakistan Cricket Board Chairman Shahryar Khan said earlier. And I quote him, their representatives appointed by the Lodha Committee asked for the matter to be deferred to the next ICC meeting in April. But we pushed through the draft constitution, which should be ratified in April after all boards give their views on it, and is enforced by June. The new draft constitution has a clause for dispute resolution committee, and once the constitution is final, we intend to take our case against the BCCI first to this committee. That's what Shahryar Khan is saying. Now, Shishir, closing comments. Also, there are larger implications. For instance, the ICC's very own Big Three policy. Don't you see it going back on its own word?
Of course it is, but it's not surprising. It's not at all surprising. This has been, the sequence of events, whether it is the BCCI or whether it is the ICC. But I also believe that there are no permanent enemies and no permanent friends in the ICC or the BCCI. So you never know. Comebacks are possible and very much possible. Only thing, one needs to manipulate members better and make sure that you get them on your side, because ultimately it's a numbers game, it's a money game, and this is what it has been over the years. I mean, you saw people turning tables on India so soon. So to get them back, you have to have manipulative people, and you've got to play the game the way people are playing it. Yes, there is a bigger picture, it's development of the game and all that, but at the moment India seems to be on the back foot, and how they can get onto the front foot is for people sitting in the corridors to figure out.
Absolutely. All right, final word before we close the show to you, Digvijay.
Well, Sana, it's pretty ironic. One thing we also heard from that ICC meeting was that someone said it's safe to go back and play in Pakistan. Well, sadly, we've had a couple of more incidents there as well. So that just goes to show that while you may want to, push India into a corner and you have this talk about, oh, we'll take India to court. Well, let's see. I don't think that's going to happen very soon.
All right. On that note, we'll end the show here. Thank you so much, Gaurav Kalra and Shishir Hatangri, for joining us this evening on the show. We're going to be taking a very short break here. News and updates will continue on the other side. Stay with us.